Hello and what is up YouTube? My name is G3 Iron and today we are here. We've arrived, we've made it. It is the day that Legion launches, and so happy launch day to everyone out there. It's an exciting time in the life cycle of Path of Exile to be playing. Today is the day. Many of you have taken off of work, many of you have planned schedules around this particular league dropping. Those of you that are melee players have had your fingers crossed literally for maybe years for this update to come through with the melee quality of life patches and upgrades that are coming down the line. So today what we wanted to do is we wanted to give you a couple of quick tips on how to not screw up your league start with some maybe outside of the box or not so much outside of the box tips. So as always, those of you who are new here to the channel, you can, of course, like, subscribe, and ding the bell if you are interested in more videos and discussions just like this one. And, of course, if you are not new to the channel, then you know the drill. We've got time stamps placed directly in the video description for you, hot linked for your convenience. And, of course, we'll be running through a list of these 5 quick tips to not completely screw up your league start. So our very first tip, yes, believe it or not, I've actually had people complain with this problem in the past. Oh, I forgot to have PoE downloaded. Those of you that play Path of Exile on Steam, maybe you've got it in your library, but you removed it because you've been playing another game recently. Maybe you've been playing PoE recently, but you haven't patched, maybe for the last couple of hotfixes or patches. So make sure that you've actually got Path of Exile downloaded and updated as you can possibly be until 3.7 actually drops. That goes a long way into actually playing the game, having it downloaded, having it updated. And by the way, those of you that are already memeing right away and saying, oh, well, of course, I've got PoE downloaded. Like, that's duh. Why would you even need to say that? Well, you need to make a decision whether or not you're going to play on the standalone client or on the Steam launch client. There are differences between the two. I get questions from folks occasionally, which one runs better? I have an account on each one. Yes, that's totally fine. GGG has said it's totally fine. You can have 2 accounts in Path of Exile, one to run off of Steam and one to run off of their standalone client. I typically have found that load times are actually a little faster on the standalone client, but there's a lot of quality of life things that come by having a Steam client, like your time total on your account gets tracked, your time played gets tracked, as well as other things like Steam achievements that get unlocked for you. So make sure whichever client it is that you are playing on, you've got PoE downloaded and updated as far as you can go. Yes, I've actually had guild members in the past. I'm not going to drop any names here in this discussion, but I've had people say to me while we were waiting in queue for a new league to drop, oh crap, I don't have PoE downloaded because I haven't played for a league or two. So make sure that you have PoE downloaded. Okay, our second tip to not completely screw up your league start is to make sure that your path of building, that your build essentially is set and selected. There is such a thing as paralysis by analysis. There is also such a thing as panic picking a build, where a lot of players will log in, they'll get through the queue, they'll get to the create a character section, and they accidentally just decide, you know what, screw it. Instead of going with this one particular build that I've been reading about and studying about and watching videos about, and I've planned out, I'm actually going to do this other thing that a buddy mentioned, and we'll see if it works. That's okay. You can try that if you'd like. However, that is far often much more of a troublesome start to your league and leads you to having questions and to slowing down your gameplay because you're trying to learn the build as you're actually playing and league starting, as opposed to, hey, this is something that I've read about. I know exactly where my gems are that I'm going to need. I know what act they become available, what particular missions I need to do to make my gems available for me on league start. I know whether or not I need to be looking for 3 links or 4 links at particular given points in time, whether or not my damage can carry me through, whether or not I'm going to ascend at particular points in time, or whether or not I'm going to hold off on that. All of those sorts of questions can get answered if you've already done your homework and have selected your build. So take the time right now before league launch and actually make sure that your build is picked out, that your path of building, even if you don't use path of building itself, make sure that your tree is set up so that way you know where you're going, because of course 3.7 has brought with it a lot of changes to the passive tree. So you want to make sure that your passive tree is set and ready to go, as well as your knowledge about gems. A lot of the time what I'll do in path of building is actually go into the notes section. There's a whole tab section that's just blank. It's essentially a notepad that's attached to a particular build, and I will actually use that notes section to write down all of the different areas where different gems are available and become available, because otherwise that can be very, very frustrating to try to trade with other guildies or with other players on the market when you are looking for a gem that would otherwise make or break your build or become very, very essential to your build. A quick word of advice on that as well. If your gem becomes available in Act 3 or later, so I'm looking at all of you players out there that are maybe thinking about playing Cyclone, that are maybe thinking about playing Earthquake, that are maybe thinking about playing Winter Orb, there's a whole bunch of Act 3 gems that become available in Act 3. So make sure that you know exactly what gems you're going to use to level with to get to Act 3, or whatever act it is that your gems become available. Make sure you've got a plan in place so you know what that plan is. That will save you a lot of time during the league, just sitting there in Lion Eyes Watch in Act 1 going, oh crap, am I going to level with like Freezing Pulse or with Summon Zombie or Ground Slam? Anyway, it saves you delaying yourself once the league is actually launched. So it saves you a little bit of time there. Also, don't be afraid to adjust. So if you're playing a build and it just straight up sucks, this is for a lot of you that are maybe trying out a new skill, or maybe you're playing a build style that you haven't played before. If it just straight up sucks, don't be afraid of swapping your builds, of saying, you know what, okay, this doesn't work. Is there another build that's in line with this particular class that I can swap ascendancies, or maybe I haven't ascended yet and I just don't like this playstyle, and so I can pivot this build. That is very, very key. I have done that now the last 2 leagues where I've started out with a particular build in mind, and then I've actually had to pivot to something else. So not only have your build picked out, but then maybe have an alternative build picked out if the build that you particularly were hoping to play is something that just doesn't really do it for you. Ends up not being that fun. All right, tip number 3 is update your loot filter. Oh my goodness. Everybody and their brother gets to like Act 2 and they're like, hey, why haven't I seen any wisdom scrolls or portal scrolls, or where are all the orbs of transmutation? And it's like, hey, hello, you're using an old loot filter from the last time you were in maps and you didn't want to see any of that stuff. Now it's a league start and we all need wisdom scrolls, we all need portal scrolls, we all need transmutes, we all need, well, frankly, everything that drops early on. And so update your loot filter. There are 2 loot filters that I personally recommend and use. One is Never Sinks, of course, and then Stupid Fat Hobbits as well, which is just fun to say his name, Stupid Fat Hobbit. But anyway, both of those are exceptional loot filters. Never Sink's website is exceptional if you want to customize your loot filter. If you're watching this video early enough in the day before league start, you can just go and build your own custom loot filter if you'd like to. And of course, you can always update it with custom sounds as well, which was something that got added just a few patches ago. So that's always exciting to have playing, whether or not you've got memes in the background going on as something drops, or you've just got your own customized sounds to alert you to specific drops. It is a good idea to make sure that your loot filter is updated and ready to go. Typically, loot filters are available usually 4 to 8 hours before the league launches. The one thing that I will say that differentiates Never Sinks from Stupid Fat Hobbit, Stupid Fat Hobbit usually has a little bit more of an appeal among the racing and competitive scene. So if in your mind you don't want to see anything that drops unless you're going to pick it up, if that is your mentality, that you only want to see things drop that you will instantly run over and tell yourself, I need to pick this up, then use Stupid Fat Hobbits in general, or use Never Sinks but with a stricter filter. Never Sinks got a bunch of different strictness filters on his particular various setups for the loot filter. So make sure your loot filter is up to date, and you can do that in the settings before the realm goes down to launch queue times. So you can always do that in Standard League just to make sure that your loot filter is up to date and is working properly. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually create a throwaway character early on with the name that I want to reserve for the new particular league, and so I will hang on to that name, but then I'll also update my loot filters and have that character run through parts of Act 1, so that way I can look and see, oh yes, gems that drop are actually the right size and the right color and the right notification for me. So make sure that you update that loot filter and you're ready to go for once League launches. Okay, Fourth tip, number 4. Have a food plan ready. Okay? Now this one is like, more outside the box, more outside of gaming, but just in general, I've seen so many different players get really, really frustrated, get really, really burnt out, get overly excited and then tire themselves out too quickly. I've seen a lot of players try to like overly zealously just over caffeinate themselves. And this is not a health nut kick. That's not what this is. This isn't me, promoting, I'm promoting the G3 Iron Health Trainer kit. Like, that's not what this is. Rather, what I'm saying is make sure that whatever it is that you normally do to stay healthy, that you follow that plan during a league start. And I'll give you a quick example of this. If you switch up your food plan while you are on a league start, expect your body to respond in kind. So, if you want to avoid unnecessary trips to the restroom and maybe just regular trips to the restroom, make sure that you're eating stuff that you normally know you're good with and on a regular schedule that you know you're good with. So, for instance, healthy snacks, etc. Healthy full-on meals. I've seen some people just try to take snacks and just try to power through like a 24-hour stream or even just an 8-hour sitting of an 8-hour gameplay session with just snacks. That's not probably what your body regularly does. If that is what your body regularly does, then great, kudos to you, stick with it. But if that's not what your body regularly does, then just don't do it. Make sure that you've got regular snacks available for you to munch on while you're in front of your PC or in front of whatever console it is that you're playing on, or make sure that you've got regular meals as well to eat and then plan your schedule, your gameplay schedule around that. On top of that, stay hydrated. I know it's a massive meme all over the internet right now to drink water, and drinking water is apparently like this new thing. There's like a whole subreddit that's dedicated to just drinking water. That's fine. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm just simply going to say that your brain works better when you are hydrated than when you're not hydrated. So, stay hydrated. I have played Path of Exile on league starts and made the mistake of not having enough to drink. And then at different points in time, at different acts, I've actually noticed myself slowing down. I've noticed myself getting more frustrated. I've noticed myself mentally just checking out and going, why is it that I can't figure out what's a good upgrade? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing right now? Getting confused, like actually noticing that amongst my own playing habits while I've done league starts. And that is just not good. And a lot of the time it's because I've just been dehydrated and I haven't taken the time to go refill a cup of water and go drink another cup of water. So I do that. And now typically what I do, actually, I just started doing this during Synthesis League and it worked out great. I actually take a bio break, which means refilling water, grabbing a snack, using the restroom, typically every 1 to 3 acts. So if the act took an extra long period of time, then I will get up and go use the restroom. If I'm making good headway throughout multiple acts, then I will go once, take a bio break once every 2 to 3 acts. As it were. But it just depends on your own pacing. But it's just something good to keep in your mind, to have that food plan schedule, essentially ready, and your bio breaks ready around that clock. Which, speaking of breaks and scheduling, plan out your play schedule. That is our 5th and final tip for us today in our pre-league checklist. Actually plan out when you're planning to play Path of Exile Legion this weekend, as well as rolling into next week. So I actually, shameless plug here, I actually have handwritten notes, okay? Handwritten notes. I never do handwritten notes. Everything I do is digital. But I've got handwritten notes for, hey, Friday I'm planning on playing for a few hours before dinner, and then I'm planning on playing a few hours after I get the kids to sleep. Then Saturday in the morning, pretty much all family time, and then in the afternoon, pretty much all Legion time. In the evening after kids go to sleep, pretty much all Legion time. Then Sunday, got worship, got lunch with the family, and then 2 to 3 hours worth of Legion, and then I'm going to take a nap probably, and then I've got a D&D commitment in the evening that I'll go to and play. And then Monday I'll wake up, I'll go to work, I'll log into work, I'll get whatever work emails and phone calls done, and then I'm going to sit on Path of Exile and make trades and make progression on my character pretty much all day. That sort of schedule lets you mentally know, hey, when is it time for me to take a break? When is it good for me to take a break? What sort of goals do I have for myself during this session? Not everybody functions this way. This is just something that I've personally noticed about myself as a very goal-driven person. I like to set for myself specific goals around each of these planned playtime sittings. So, for instance, on Friday during my very first scheduled gameplay sitting of about 2 to 3 hours, I want to make it past Dominus in Act 3. Get past Dominus in Act 3. That's my goal for sitting number 1. Sitting number 2 is 3 to 4 hours. I should start right at Act 4. I want to make it all the way up through multiple ascendancies, as well as killing Kitava the first time, preferably getting to about X7-ish. Maybe the beginning of Act 8, but I don't know. It could be that that's just too ambitious for me on this particular build that I'm going to be running. It could also be that if I get lucky, I'll actually be at Kitava Act 10 by 7 hours worth of playtime. So that's not unheard of. Then Saturday in the morning, not going to play at all. Just going to rest up, spend time with the family, so that way we all have a great time. Those of you who are dads and moms out there who are gamers, I will just say this. I've noticed this about my own kids and about our own family. It is really, really frustrating to me when I'm taking time to play a game that I've scheduled, that we've all scheduled, and we as a family have all agreed, hey, now's the time to go play the games, and everybody's doing their own thing. It's really, really frustrating when I get bugged during that time, because getting bugged during that time is truly getting bugged. Like, this is the time that's set aside for this. It's the expectation for the time that's going on. Whereas, if I'm just always constantly trying to sneak away from my family to grab some playtime in a game, I really shouldn't get frustrated at that if my family's trying to actually interact with me and they need daddy time or they need husband time. That really shouldn't frustrate me, because that's a choice that I'm making to try to sneak away. Like, my obligation is still to my family at that point, and it's not to the game. And the expectation hasn't been created between my kids and between my wife and between myself that I'm not going to be available because I'm going to be gaming. So those of you that have kids, that have spouses, just realize that. Or that have other commitments. Again, I mentioned that I've got a D&D commitment on Sunday. I'm not canceling that. I'm not rescheduling my entire life around a League launch. I reschedule a lot of my life around a League launch, because all of these hours that I'm going to be playing, 3 hours plus 4 hours plus 6 hours plus another 3 hours. I mean, that's 9 plus... This is like 16 hours over the first 2.5 days. That, for me, is a lot of gameplay time. Maybe for some of you that's not a lot. Maybe for others that is. But for me, that's a lot of gameplay time that's dedicated over a couple of hours. And my family is very, very generous, and also schedules along with me to make sure that everybody is going to be entertained and having a great time while Daddy is off playing Path of Exile, while G3 Daddy Iron is off playing Path of Exile. So plan out your play schedule. It will make your spouse happier that in terms of setting an expectation of when you're available, when you're not. It'll make your kids happier in terms of the expectation of when you're there, when you're not. And it'll also allow you to actually be present with your kids and with your spouses when you're actually there. I know some of you don't have kids, don't have spouses, don't even give a crap. To you, I will simply say, again, plan your play schedule, because those people that want to hang out with you doing other stuff, they're going to want to do other stuff with you other than play Path of Exile. So if you don't want to do any of that, by planning your play schedule accordingly and by telling people, hey, look, I've already got stuff going on this weekend, you already avoid any kind of awkward social protocol of somebody thinking that you were going to show up to something during Path of Exile Legion launch. If your plan all along was just to play Legion, just tell people you're unavailable this weekend, i.e. plan your play schedule. Okay, that's enough dad lecturing for the day. Anyway, what are your tips? What are your traditions? What are your suggestions that you would give to other players who are new and this is their first league, or maybe they're veterans and they're returning back to Path of Exile after taking a break? What tips and tricks would you give as a pre-league checklist to other players? Leave us a comment down below, and as always, I look forward to the conversation, to the tips, to the tricks, to the memes that we all post and enjoy in discussing down below in the video comment section. I look forward to reading that and engaging with all of you. And of course, as soon as Legion is live, we're all going to be diving in, because it's only a few hours away. So get hype. I hope that this league, Path of Exile Legion 3.7, is the league, maybe on day 1, that a Mirror of Calandra will drop for you.
Nice patrons, yes, good patrons. They're so kind and supportive.
I can't believe you watched that thing. That was a good job. You did it. You got through the whole video. Yay.